Classes in session.
I'm back for another episode.
Welcome to Learn 16
Classes in Session.
Listen, we both sat down here and we turned this on. We're obviously in our living room. We're not upstairs with the better lighting. Usually it's good lighting coming from out here. But I sat down. I'm like, oh, why do I look so tired? And she's like, this is horrible lighting. I look too old.
I look too old.
But nonetheless, I'm not changing the lighting. I can't change the outdoor. Ooh, maybe the sun will come up and it'll give us a little bit of freshness.
Tomorrow.
I'm excited about that. So maybe if we sit here long enough, it'll get better. Did the silence make you uncomfortable?
No, I was just wondering what you were doing.
Waiting for the sun to come up.
All right.
Guys, it's rained so much here in the last week. I'm going to start just chipping away, maybe building some type of ark.
My poor cat
She's
is terrified of the rain. And so she scurries into the closet or under our bed.
Which I find offensive because she doesn't come to lie with us as though we wouldn't protect her.
I know. I say it all the time. It hurts my feelings.
It's like, we've got you.
Yeah.
I protected you your whole life. 8 years. You never got outside. No animal. Presley's just maybe licked you a little too close. That's it. That's the hardship.
Yeah.
So anyways.
I'm in my fitness era and I ran. Why
she
are you
did.
laughing?
She ran outside.
I ran outside 5 kilometers, 30 minutes for 2 days straight.
It's insane. What's the opposite of your fitness era? Your sloth era? I'm in my sloth era. I'm so tired. Although maybe I should be in my fitness era because my face feels puffy.
It looks like we just woke up. And we
I
didn't.
feel like we did, though. We woke up early this morning. I don't know why.
You woke up at 7 and then
I had to go to the bathroom.
But then you said it's too early to go back to sleep. But I was sleeping.
No, you asked me. Do you remember talking to me?
I remember you the first time.
You said, what are you doing?
No, but
I had to go pee.
The first time, I just remember you saying, go back to sleep. It's too early.
But she'd already addressed me.
No, I hadn't.
Yeah, you had.
No,
I don't think you know. I wouldn't address you anyways. I just pat, go back to sleep.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
And then I went back to sleep. What'd you do? Turned on your phone.
No, and then I tried to go back to sleep, and then I couldn't. And then that's when I asked you what time it was. But I was sleeping when you said, go back to sleep.
Guys, before we get in, we were going to talk about Inside Out, but I need to address this. Yesterday... And you guys are going to think it's lies. It's not lies. I said this on my live the other night. Sometimes I want a camera on Anna at all times because it captures such authentically insane moments. And then when I try to repeat them, I feel like you guys think we're doing a bit. We're not doing a bit. This is actually what happened. So
she just likes making fun of me.
It's not true. Well, I enjoy it. See? I do enjoy it. But it's not because you get something wrong. It's because you're so adamant in your wrongness.
It makes more sense.
That's why it's funny. It's not funny because you got it. You're like, oh, I thought, no. She digs in. So let me tell you. So I'm going to Ireland today.
She's leaving me.
Dressed in, this isn't my full outfit. You're going to have to wait for my TikTok to see my full first day outfit. I only will be wearing green in Ireland. Now it's this kind of green. I have a couple.
If we wanted to clickbait, your thing could be, I'm leaving Anna.
I'm leaving Anna for Ireland. Anyways, so could you imagine? People would lose. They wouldn't even watch the thing though, and I would get all these messages, and it would just cause. Anyway,
she's going to Ireland.
Going to Ireland
for 8 days,
and I'm not big on photos.
She's not taking me.
I'm taking 15 students. It's not like I'm leaving her for some Irish lady. I'm just me and Ryan. P.S. Ryan and I might be sharing a room. It's what it looks like on the agenda.
Scandal.
They promise me it's not what's happening, but it is what it is. He gets the floor. Anyway, so I'm going to Ireland. She says, "Can you take touristy pictures?" I'm like, "What do you mean touristy pictures?" She's like, "Whatever's important in Ireland, I want you to stand in front of it and just take the."
What everybody does.
Whatever. And she's like, go ahead, say it.
I said, like when you go to Italy and you take a picture with the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
And she says it dead ass straight face. And I go, did you just say the Leaning Tower of Pizza?
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah. I go, babe, it's not called the Leaning Tower of Pizza. What are you? She's like, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. It's the Leaning Tower of Pisa with an S. She's like, you're lying. Google.
Because
There it
first of
is.
all,
There it is. She looks at Google and goes, nah.
what is Pisa? Like,
It's a city.
exactly. So you're just gonna name a tower the
From
tower
the
of the
city.
city when it literally looks like someone's carrying a whole bunch of pizza boxes and they're like falling over.
That's what she thought it was named after. She thought it was named after leaning pizza boxes when you try to carry like 10 or 15. Who's carrying 10 or 15 pizza boxes?
Is
I don't
that
understand.
not that much cooler though? It's the Leaning Tower of the city.
Listen,
yay!
It's not
snooze fest.
It's not just that she gets it wrong. Is that she stands so firmly, so adamantly in her wrongness. And right now, there's about 20% of her that still doesn't believe me or Google or the town of Pisa.
I believe it. I just think it's silly.
Yesterday. So I'm going to take all of the Leaning Tower of Pisa or pizza pictures, whatever comes first in Ireland. What we wanted to talk about today was the movie that we saw yesterday. Because I think those movies are probably two of the most beautifully written and in like sort of in a deep sense idea about sort of the formation of identity and personhood and all the things that go into it. And I think I didn't realize that Inside Out, we're going to be reviewing Inside Out too. I didn't realize that Inside Out was 10 years old.
I didn't either until we were talking about it and we looked it up.
Bro. That's how you know you're old. When 10 years ago, you thought that movie was on like 4 years ago.
Yeah. So the first one was the introduction of sadness. That's what
sadness. Yeah, she never felt, which is so the first movie, she has like joy. She has, what else does she have?
Anger, fear,
joy, anger,
disgust.
Fear. So like elemental kind of. Is that the point then? It's like when you're a kid, you have like these Jungian elemental kind of id emotions. You know what your id is? It's like your inner being. It's like your animalistic self. Because kids are sort of animalistic, not in a bad sense. I'm not calling all your kids animals, maybe a little bit. I'm saying they can't articulate it yet. They haven't developed a stronger sense of emotion. So they're all reactive emotions. So when you develop sadness...
Why would you call it id? Like ID? Just call it ID. Like your identification.
Well, it's your id. It was... Freud talked about your subconscious, your id, your ego,
Does it
your
stand
super
for
ego.
Something?
Your id?
Yeah.
Id.
Okay.
Id.
Right. Continue.
But it's the idea, there are deep emotions.
I'm going to make up a word today, and it's going to be id.
When you're Freud,
it is taken.
If you do a lot of cocaine and become a famous psychologist, then you can do that too.
Is that what he did?
Do you know Freud did so much cocaine?
I didn't even know
that
he did that.
He became incontinent.
A continent?
Incontinent. Not... he became...
Could you imagine?
He became Asia.
Oh, it's a talent.
Incontinent means he can't control when he goes pee.
Oh.
So he would have to time himself. He would be out places and he would have to... So I don't know if it's a psychological disorder or if it's because of all the massive drug use, but he'd be out places and he'd...
Oh, no.
But here's the funny part.
Oh, no,
this is the man.
No.
This is the man we have premised. Now, a lot of his stuff is debunked by now, but this is the psychologist that is sort of the fundamental, foundational reality of all psychology, psychological analysis, and this dude couldn't control his...
Well,
urine.
We all have our strengths.
No, some of them are in our urethra. Others... other places. Okay, so the old one was about finding sadness, which is so well, sad. I should have watched Inside Out 1 before we went. I should have been up on it a little bit more. Because what I remembered about the first one, to be honest, firmly ingrained in my memory, is the fact she left that elephant somewhere.
Bing Bong. His name is Bing Bong. Stop calling him an elephant. He has a name.
Well, obviously not an important one. He still doesn't have him.
No, she had him and then lost him because she had to let him go.
Why?
Because that was her imaginary friend.
Why do you have to let go of your man?
Why do you think because then that would be schizophrenia.
No. If you were your imaginary friend would be schizophrenia, and I believe it's called something else. And there's a spider crawling down the window right there. Look how tiny. Just leave him.
Ripley.
He lives here now. Ripley won't do anything. She'll just watch him crawl.
Mm.
Okay, here's question number one. Why do you think we have zero psychological training, zero therapy training, zero any of it? These are just an opinion show, guys.
Facts.
So before you're like, don't be judging. Listen, just talking about
I
a kid's movie.
listen. I also know nothing. Like, I'm a singer and a dancer and an actor.
Why?
There's nothing in here.
What?
Barely graduated
In
grade
here?
11. Yeah, barely graduated grade 11.
Question.
So anything I say, probably wrong.
Take it with a bucket of salt for
Be
us on
reminded
this
that I
one.
called it pizza. So
Question. Why do
Okay.
you think kids, because they don't really, why do you think kids have an imaginary friend? What's the psychological purpose? Because a lot of kids do. And it's obviously acceptable, because I've never really looked up.
sometimes I'm going to get real deep here, but sometimes I do believe that the children don't have the veil that separates reality from, not reality because everything's reality, but you know what I mean? The veil between the conscious and the unconscious. I don't think that veil exists for them. And some kids are more prone to being able to see people that have
You
passed
think
to the other side.
Bing Bong was dead people.
No, but I do think that some that we call imaginary friends as adult might be that. That aside,
This my cousin, when she was real little, my grandfather died when she was maybe like 5, and she used to say that she'd see my grandpa at the bottom of her bed all the time. And
I
she'd
used
wake up
to-
and she'd say, "Grandpa."
yeah, I used to see spirits as a little
Do you remember
kid too.
that? You remember seeing them?
hmm
Clear as day.
Yeah,
Were they kind of like wobbly,
Nope.
or were they full people?
full people.
Could you touch them?
I,
Did you ever try to touch them?
No, I never got close enough. I was scared.
Did they say anything?
Nope.
Quietly stood and stared at you?
Yep.
Why do you think they'd be so creepy?
My mom would say that they were protecting me. So
Why?
they
Why
would-
silently protecting you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe
Could you smell them?
because-
Okay, so let's put
That aside.
That aside. What?
Sometimes
Let's
it's
say it's created, like,
Yeah.
and I would expect it's subconsciously created, or maybe not. Like, do you think they're conscious? They're like, that is my Like, do you really think they believe in that friend? Because I think they do. Something in my eye.
I don't know.
Okay, so why do you think they have it then?
Well, I was going to say it could have something to do with maybe in their actual reality there isn't someone to fill that need, so their brain creates it.
I kind of think, like, when you're young, you don't have the vocabulary, but you have sort of this intuitive sense, right? That's why kids and dogs can really sense good people.
What does that have to do with an imaginary friend?
Because if you only have more of an intuitive sense, you don't have the verbal ability even to interact with people the way you would want to. So you have an intuitive sense, or the non-verbal ability to interact with something you've created, because it can understand you and you can understand it. So it's like you create a language and a conversation and a way to connect with something else outside of yourself that you can understand. Because if you can't articulate, right, if you're that young and you're having problems articulating, like, that's the only time.
But
Like,
some
once
kids,
you're 6 or 7, you don't have an imaginary friend.
I don't know when the age limit of imaginary friends is, but
When
I do
does
know
she
that
lose
some
it?
people, I can't remember, but I do know that some kids talk, like it's not just play talk, it's like actual conversation. So
But that's
they do
what
know
I'm
how to
saying.
communicate.
Well, but
With
they know how to
words.
communicate in their way, right? So maybe it's a very comfortable idea that they're going to use this particular method to.
Look at us not knowing anything.
I know nothing. I don't think anybody knows. Don't tell me, listen, don't tell me that somebody's like, I know why a kid creates an imaginary friend. I don't know. That's all just guessing. There's no way you can know. All right. And then all of a sudden, why do you think that they stop? If they create it for a need, you're saying the need gets filled somewhere else?
Yeah. Because even kids who have actual friends, like in reality, some of them, obviously not all of them, but some kids still do have their imaginary friends. Even kids with people who give them the attention that a child needs and all that still do end up having an imaginary friend. So I think it's a subconscious thing that isn't being filled, which then is filled by the imaginary friend, which is why we don't know the reasoning for it,
We'll
because
never
it's
know.
subconscious to the kid.
I think we should do some investigation.
Okay.
All right. We'll get a bunch of kids in the room, see who they talk to. And then they lose their imaginary friend, which is the
Once
saddest
it's
part.
fulfilled.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. I
Either
feel like
that
it's
or
losing
when
a level of creativity. I think as kids are full of creativity.
Mhm.
They're full of new ideas, they're full of possibilities, they're full of all of this stuff, and we consistently tell them what they can't do and what they can't be. And eventually, I think we kill the elephant. It's so sad.
It's true. It's that thing that I always say, like people who are trying to manifest and think good thoughts and things like that. It's always think of it as like a tug of war, right? So you're trying to change your subconscious, but your subconscious has been formed by everything that your conscious mind thinks. So everything that has been put into your brain. So it's like this unfair tug of war between changing the subconscious by changing the conscience. And so it's like the reality of things is always like pulling unfairly one way.
But shouldn't reality pull one way?
Not if you want to change your reality.
Yeah, but you're going to tell me, well, if you want to change your reality, though, maybe you still acknowledge the reality in which you're in.
No, but it's like unlearning certain things.
That's a great name. Maybe I should use that. Do you realize that when we do these, you always look at the camera and I always look at you? I'd like somebody to do a statistical analysis of how much I look at her and listen to her when she talks and how much she just stares and looks pretty in the camera while I talk.
But I'm also not looking at the camera, like I'm not looking at the green dot. I'm looking at myself to see how pretty I look.
Okay, so we jump into Inside Out 2, and when you jump in, she's turning 13, so she's hitting puberty. So the first emotion that gets created there's three emotions, right? Three new emotions, but the very first one's anxiety.
Well, 4.
The very first one's anxiety, then it's embarrassment, then it's ennui. He might be my favorite. He doesn't have a backbone and he just slinks everywhere because he just doesn't care.
Speaking of ennui,
Ennui?
I was on TikTok and I was scrolling and it was like your birthday matches this Inside Out emotion,
Ennui?
and the both of us were on ennui.
Me too?
Yeah.
What's the fourth one?
The fourth one was envy.
Envy.
Jealousy.
Envy. Interesting. And so all of those things are all about externalities. Do you understand? Like all of those things, it's not just reacting, but it's about comparing yourself because that's what you start to do at 13.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about comparison. That's what anxiety's about. That's what embarrassment's about. Little kids don't get embarrassed. What the hell do they care?
Also, the reason that I believe that you also lose your imaginary friend could be embarrassment because did they not quite look a little bit alike?
Embarrassment and the elephant? Yeah, they did.
Bing bong.
So all of those things come and when I'm watching this show, outside of being distracted by the 400 children we were watching it with, when I'm watching it, it is so true to grade 7 and 8. And it's so true to grade 7 and 8, and you watch it happen. It tends to happen between grade 7 and 8. Okay? Grade 7's, kids. And then you roll up into, I swear to God, you roll up into grade 8, and all of a sudden, everything changes. Everybody cares what you're wearing, what your haircut looks like, how you walk, if you carry a skateboard into school. Everything starts to matter on a heightened level, and it feels like it changes overnight. So that level of jealousy and comparison is the driving force for teenagers. And then the driving force is now I'm going to define myself externally. And then the secondary driving force is sort of this, and it's something that I don't think they talked about enough, is the emotional push and the hormonal push that all kids face, no matter what levels of hormones you're getting attacked with. But I don't think they talked about that very well.
Can I just go on a tangent real quick? Don't you think this podcast would be a lot cuter if we were like on a couch with microphones? Like visually.
Visually?
Visually.
You think they care?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's visually appealing. Okay, sorry, continue.
Externally driven. I think you just proved my point. Okay. So I don't think they talk about how
But I think that here's the
everything
thing.
is heightened because of hormones.
Right. I naming the hormone in this case, I don't necessarily think was necessary, but they did say that because they did address everything that you just said, just in a different way. They didn't use the word hormone, but they used the panel. So remember when anger just came in and just pushed a
Oh, and it was
button?
super reactive.
And yeah, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
other one came in and was like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, you're doing it wrong. Let me fix it." And then sadness came in and tried to fix it,
And it was just
and
full
it was
sadness.
literally a push of a
True.
button, and I think that's how they
That's
touched
it.
on it.
I just feel like that could have been.
You just had to pay attention.
No, I know, but I just don't think they focused on it as much. You know what I mean? But I guess there is a level of erraticism throughout the whole thing that I guess still is a
Hmm.
callback to that.
Yep.
But explain how you felt about anxiety, which I find hilarious
Yeah.
when anxiety first got introduced. Because when anxiety first gets introduced, I'm just like, see, that's why grade 7 and 8 matters on a different level. Grade 7 and 8 matters on a different level because that's not happening. This precise hormonal and identity shift is only happening at that, obviously it's a bracket, but at that age bracket. And as teachers and educators, we should be addressing that. That should be part of the freaking curriculum because it's so
Well, that's why they made a
powerful.
movie about it.
Well, it's so powerful and can really push kids down, different and sometimes not the best paths. But what was your, because I see anxiety, I'm like, that's everything that's wrong. How do we address that? You
Well,
don't even see it as wrong.
I was sitting there and for quite a while until anxiety got out of
Like
control.
spun, like,
Yeah. Until that point, or maybe a little bit before, the whole, I don't really want to spoil it, but the book part, that's where I would have said, okay, now we're off track. But everything before that, I was like, anxiety is doing its job if you want Riley to succeed. Like, this isn't a bad thing. This
and
is the
that's
way
from a
that,
sport perspective.
yeah.
But see,
But that's
anxiety,
my, hold on a second. But that's just because it was in that moment related to a sport. We all know that Riley plays
hockey.
hockey and I was a speed skater. But that it just depends what your interest is at that time in order for you to succeed in that, because it could have literally been anything else that, and that's the same kind of motivation that you need. Like, it could have been studies. Like, if you're really into studying, you also would have woken up, you also would have read more books, done there's always an equivalent, right? It doesn't have to be sports. It's just my experience was through sport, and I was like, everything that anxiety is doing right now is great. This is what you need to succeed, up until a certain point, obviously.
But the funny part is, if you've noticed, that anxiety really worked overtime about social validation, not athletic accomplishment. That athletic accomplishment got her up one time. Everything else was about social validation and making the team and doing this and doing that. And I would argue that drive and determination, something that comes from inside. I think anxiety is an external emotion. You're worried about what they think, what they're doing, how I'm going to be perceived. But an internal drive to be successful at a sport, at a course, at whatever, that internal drive, that's not anxiety, that's something else. I don't know what that emotion is, but if my drive is
But
to
it
be, I
was,
love it and I want to be great at hockey, so I'm going to get up early in the morning, and it has nothing to do with whether I make that team or has nothing to do with whether those girls like me. That's the better emotion. That's still a cool emotion that drives you. It just, anxiety is
but
all
there's
about
always, no, but there's
them.
always, mm, but there's always a goal, right? Like, yes, the external thing is making the team, but if you don't make the team, then you're not very good at what you do. So there's always a goal. The same thing is like, you can study all of whatever, but if you, at the end of the day, you can't explain what you've just studied, then do you really know what you've studied? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a goal in order to be.
No, but see, but if the goal is self-driven rather than driving for an external pat on the head, and it's internally driven, meaning I just love history. I sit at home, I read books about history, I do history class, I like to study, I do this, I do that, I become great at history. Same with skating. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I go out and I skate and I skate and I skate, not because, yes, I want to be on a team, but that's not my goal.
But it is.
No, I don't think so. That's the natural consequence of who I am in my most powerful self. It has nothing to do with that. And you will start to
That's
see
not true. That's absolutely
great
not true.
players is that.
That's absolutely not
I
true,
just,
because you can have someone who passionately loves to skate, who wakes up in the morning, goes to the rink, does all this stuff, and has no desire to go to the Olympics, has no desire to be on that team. So that person is never, their goal is never going to be that. And they could be amazing and immaculate at it, but if that's not their goal, then they're never going to be driven towards that. So it's two complete, you're having two completely different thoughts. It's just like dancing. There's people who absolutely love how to dance. They wake up in the morning, they want to be the best dancer, they love the way that it feels when they dance, but they do not want to dance in front of anybody. They do not want to be paid to dance. They don't want to be professional dancers. They just love to dance.
but
Do you
why?
see the difference?
But why wouldn't you? I disagree. I think that when you are doing something you are passionate about and that you are love and that is a piece of you, the only reason you wouldn't want to make it your career, if you possibly could, you wouldn't want to make it your world, you wouldn't want to make it sort of the foundational, aspect of who you are, is because of anxiety and you think you won't make the
No,
team.
that's
Yeah,
not true.
I disagree. I
You're I don't
disagree.
I don't think that you're in the um meteor. Wow, it's funny that I just
You just swear at
thought
me?
thought of the word in French instead of in English.
I know.
You're not in the environment of having both, dealing with both. I deal with recreational kids and I deal with competitive kids, and even on the competitive team, there are kids who just love to be there. They just love to dance. They love whatever, and they will put their entire passion into it. They are fantastic. You're looking at them and I think you're going to be a professional, dancer. You have so much potential. You love it. I see how much you love it. You tell me how much you love it. You put all the effort into it. And at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, but I want to go be an engineer.
Yeah, but I want to know for those kids. I think, by the way, I think it's quite possible to have more than one passion and more than one love. So I think before everybody comes at me in the comments, I think it's possible for a dancer to want to be an engineer. I think it's more probable, because I've seen it happen over 22 years. That kid wants to be a dancer, wants to be in the arts, but everybody around them says it's never going to happen. You're never going to make money. You're not going to be wealthy enough. You're
And
not going
like
to be
I
able to take care
said,
of enough. So you're going to have to be an engineer.
listen, that I'm not saying that
That's
doesn't happen.
anxiety externally driven.
It does happen. 100% it does happen.
More often than not.
Maybe, but what I'm saying is the example that I am also given right now also happens, where parents are supportive, everyone's supportive, everybody around you is like, do it, whatever, blah blah blah, and at the end of the day they don't want to, because they just wanted to be good at it and experience it in that moment.
Sure, but then they have another passion, is what I'm saying. Then then they have something else. That's cool. It's fine to have more than one passion and more than one drive in life. I am saying that for the like I watch kids who are so good at art and so good at music and so good at drama, yet they're going into economics. And I'm like, and I don't say it because, I try to gently encourage them to keep doing both. That's the best that I can do in that scenario. But, parents will sit down and say, yeah, but how are they going to pay the bills?
Like I said, that does happen.
How are they going to pay the bills?
For sure,
How are
that
they going
does
to have a
happen.
family?
100%.
How are they going to do this? How are they going to do, oh my God, they're going to move away from me and I'm not going to be able to control them. They want to go to LA without me. What a horrible, like that. There's a level.
I'm not negating that doesn't happen.
But that's
it
the
does
vast
happen,
majority.
but it's not.
I think it is.
There's a
You're
whole,
never sitting on the academic side. You're not sitting on the academic side where fine, you go to dance, but all the parents, like, I even know some of the kids that you're thinking about right now. Even in those instances, it still is a matter of, well, I still want to control parents, and not out of a negative place, by the way. Parents are so interested in making sure that they can control the environment in which, by the way, that's also driven by anxiety. Because this anxiety one is the worst emotion that we hold on to forever. Like, you think it's the worst when you're 13 years old. It's not. It's not. My mom has been driven by what ifs, like the worst case scenario. And the funny part is, you never prepare for it. You keep like
You mentally think of it.
there's scenes in this movie that are so amazing where anxiety kind of plays out what could happen if A doesn't happen, then B, then C, then D, then E, then F, then all of a sudden I die alone and on a park bench. And I'm like, oh my God. And she does it so quickly. And A, it hasn't happened. B, it's rare to happen. But C, think about how many different externalities that you map out in your head. And you're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? They never happen. And you wasted all that time and all that energy trying to plan against it and then control your life and steer it away from it. What a waste of friggin' time.
That's true.
Like, what an utter waste of time. And the worst part is, and if you're, in the older years, you guys know that you plan for all these externalities and then you get smacked in your head by something you never even thought of. Yeah, all I could think about is like Looney Tunes when the anvil lands on on the coyote. It's just like he plans, and all of a sudden, bam, hit with a sledgehammer. Like that's how life works. And you think and this is why I think you get happier as you get older, hopefully, if you've learned lessons, because you recognize you don't recognize you can control the world. You recognize you can control anything and you let it go and you
can't control
stop. Yeah, and you stop caring about, or you care less.
I think we're
About,
just going to have to disagree on that other anxiety part.
I find it interesting. I just think that anxiety, the way that emotion, I think, and maybe in the comments people will be able to articulate it better. There's a healthier emotion that does what anxiety does in order to push you, in order to do things that scare you, in order to do things to their best, in order to compete. I think there's a healthier emotional state that allows you to do that.
I was going to sneeze and then it disappears.
That allows you to do that rather than anxiety.
Well, you're going to have to name that emotion because having drive, I think, comes from
Anxiety?
I just think people have put a negative spin on anxiety because anxiety does get out of control. But I think that a certain level of
Discomfort.
I need to be ready for this and this could happen and I need to be ready for that. And it's all like it's planning. Like
Okay, yeah. You're walking down the street, you see 5 guys walking towards you. You should be smart enough to go, oh, I'm not going to walk past those. You should have a healthy sense of anxiety. This is just a metaphor and literal. This works in real time. You're like, I'm not going to walk down that alley. I'm just going to choose a different road because it makes sense not to purposely put myself in the possibility of danger.
Right, but you're talking about it in like a danger wise. I'm talking about it in like a success wise. Like there are different avenues to where anxiety can fall in a positive way. And then when we see anxiety spin out of control, that's when, that's when you let anxiety. I mean, I don't think people let it happen, but
yeah,
it triggers and then that happens.
And I think a lot of this too, when we're watching that episode, movie or whatever, a lot of the problem with anxiety is the fact she doesn't just articulate it.
What do you mean? She projects it.
She doesn't say it. She doesn't say what she's thinking. If she would have looked at her friends, rather than trying to fight back those tears at the very beginning, she would have looked at her friends and said, this is what I'm thinking. This is why I'm scared. And now I feel like I need to fit into that group because if I don't fit into that group, I'm not going to feel. That's a whole different thing. Her friends could have been like, go do it. Go be a part of that group. Mm-hmm. Go be a part of that group. And we're going to cheer for you over here because we get it. We're going to go to this high school. You're going to go to that high school. So if you're able to put the insanity that's in your head out there on the table in front of people that you love and you trust, I feel like it just diminishes.
Sure.
Because then you're not worried about battling it all in your own head.
But that is also articulating what anxiety was saying. So articulate
it. Say it. Get it over
with. That's
with.
what I'm saying. It's not always something bad. Sure. Did she go about it in a
but that's way? Because she has nobody else to have that conversation with.
Right. But it still came from anxiety. It was still anxiety's idea. She should have just talked to her friends. Right?
Okay, can we talk about the last scene that we didn't stay? I didn't know there was a last scene. Guys, can we
Oh, yeah, at the end
stop
of
with
the
these
credits.
last scenes that we have to wait and I have to see who the grip hand was to see, sit through all of the credits. Grip.
Okay.
The grip hand, it's a position on a movie. Yeah. And so we didn't wait till the very end. And if you don't want to hear what happened at the very end, la 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 la
Spoiler.
la. Okay. So at the very end, she has a secret area. This is where she keeps her secret. Oh, by the way, we didn't even talk. Oh my God, I missed the part where Joy purposefully takes all the negative emotions that this kid has ever felt and she launches
Chucks
them to sort of a compartmentalization part of her brain. So she puts it at the back of the brain so it doesn't impact her.
Mhm.
And at some point in the movie, she realizes, again, spoiler alert, that
You need
all
them.
that, you need them. You need them. You need to acknowledge them. You don't need to put them back there. You need to deal with them. They're a part of who you are.
And learn from
And
them.
you need to learn from them. And it's okay that you had negative experiences. It's okay that you failed at something. It's okay you were an ass one time. All of those things go into who you are. And if who you are is just this perfect image of yourself, you're lying to yourself. And you will crumble because that's not real. That was the greatest part of the movie. I can't believe I didn't say it. But at the end, there's a secret room. It's like a vault. And there's this giant guy and says, this is where she keeps her secret. And then she shuts the door on him. And then at the end, he says,
she didn't shut the door on him.
yeah, he's
He
in a
didn't want.
vault.
I know, but he didn't want to come out. He said, "I'm not ready to come out."
No, we took that a different way because at the end of the movie, the secret guy says,
I burned a hole in the rug.
guys, does anybody else think this is absolute garbage?
I don't know if that would be like your biggest
This
secret.
big secret? This guy was ginormous, a horrible thing.
I personally think it's a metaphor for something, and we're going to realize what that metaphor is in Inside Out 3.
Can't be a hole in the carpet. That's the word. They should have just left it alone, and that should have been Inside Out 3.
Yeah.
Inside Out 3 should have been getting at her, whatever that was, whatever that big thing was. But if it really is, she burned a hole in the carpet, and that's the big secret. Inside Out people, Pixar, Disney, whoever's driving that bus, guys, you took a perfect movie and you ended it up with a burnt hole in the carpet?
I don't know.
I'm not into it. I want to know what you guys think a better secret. Remember, she's 13, so it can't be anything crazy. She didn't operate in some CIA covert mission in Nicaragua.
Imagine she did.
That'd be cooler. But in the comments, put what you think the secret maybe could be, and do you think it would be good as the premise for Inside Out 3 is all about secrets and then coming to terms with them and putting them on the table and not locking them up or not,
I don't
purposefully internally locking
I don't think that secrets is what Inside Out 3 is going to be. I think it's going to be a different emotion.
Love.
Love. It's going to be love.
All right. Well, we'll see. When do you think that one's going to come out? Another 10 years?
10 years.
Pull it together, Disney. All right. On that note, I'm going to Ireland. You guys get to stay with Anna. And I promise I'll post TikToks every day. And if you go to my Instagram, Unlearn16, I'll post really bad pictures with Ireland's version of the Leaning Tower of Pizza.
And go follow my vlog because you're going to be with me all by myself.
It's true. And your vlog is?
Hey, Team Ana Pac Vlogs.
No punctuation. All right, guys, have a great week. I will see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Dismissed.